Hello, this is Juniper of Sola V Studio, and welcome to my backyard. Today I would like to talk to you about just with this whole equinox thing. This time of year and in the spring, I spend a lot of time thinking about balance, and I know I've talked before about balancing the masculine and feminine. But for me at this point, it seems like that's that's something that I need to focus on. And so the nighttime, now that our days are equal or about equal for a minute. I know in my area, I believe the light shifts about 12 minutes per day. So depending on which part of the cycle you're in, ow, she's really digging into my skin. Oh, honey. Depending on which part of the cycle that you're in, you either gain or lose 12 minutes of light a day. So at this point, we're at the phase of losing 12 minutes of light a day until we hit, the solstice. Oh my goodness. So we're entering into the more feminine, receptive time of the year. It's the quiet time. It's the more passive time. It's the more reflective time. It's the receiving time, receiving knowledge, receiving inspiration, receiving insights, or whatever may be necessary for this part of your journey. We're losing the masculine, the doing. That's why for me summer is so filled, I guess, with activity, because there's so much sun, the weather's so nice, etc., etc. But the masculine, the active, the doing, the giving, giving. And so I've been also researching, symbols. Symbols have been coming up a lot for me lately. I'm sure you all have seen this symbol. This is a great symbol for equinox. Ow! Oh my goodness. Hey, honey, you know what? That's too much. That's too much. That's too much. The balancing of night and day, the aspect of giving and receiving, of those two polarities don't make sense, but just this is a time of balancing of polarities. Another symbol that represents balancing of polarities is this one. The Ankh. This is the feminine, and this is the masculine. This is an ancient symbol. It means life. It means health and prosperity and protection, but it means life. I mean, that's the basic fundamental definition. And in this way, a newer version of the Ankh is the cross. But in Christianity, it's a very masculine religion. Men ran the household. If their women didn't cook their food right, the woman didn't have any rights. So in Christianity, the woman got cut out. And it was a very patriarchal culture that we are still existing in the Western culture. Not exactly sure. See, I want to get into researching more about symbols and their origins and things of that nature. Something's moving over there. And about 280 So about 200 years or so after Christ was born, or they reset the time, the astrological symbols came into play, and these were the symbols for Earth. Oh, sorry, that's upside down. These are the symbols for Earth. And as you can see, there's a cross in both of them. One is at the center, and then one is at the top. But something I saw, because this symbol came up, I was watching an astrologer, and he did a helio chart, so the astrology based on the position of the sun, and Earth was one of the planets zooming around the sun, of course, right? So that's where I saw this symbol most recently. But then, having recently been coming upon the Ankh a lot, I thought this was very interesting. That the Ankh is the same as a sign for woman. In, like when I traveled, I saw bathrooms that had the woman symbol on it, just so anyone would know. This is also the astrological sign of Venus. So I thought that it was very interesting that it's also the Ankh. And Venus is a planet of love and relationships. And the Ankh could be, masculine and feminine relations in your own life, but it can also be within yourself. So what is your relationship to yourself? What is your relationship to the earth? As above, so below. As below, so above. The reflection. So I just thought, I don't know, maybe I'm just being overly analytical, which can absolutely be a possibility, but I just thought it was an interesting connection that the Ankh is so similar to a lot of other symbols that are related to everything, but that one is such an ancient symbol. And I want to definitely dive into the more symbolic meaning of the Ankh, but in this day of equal day, in this time of equal day and equal night, it seems to me when we get to these big, the longest night of the year, the longest day of the year, and the two balancing points, that it seems to me as if I feel some sort of pause. And I noticed that even before I started really becoming aware of it, but there seems to be this sort of pause, this sort of let's let this sink in for a minute before we move on. And I know there's a lot of crazy astrological things going on right now, a lot of retrogrades, a lot of planets who are in shadow going to be retrograde, etc., which I'm not an astrologer on that level at all, but I've dabbled for sure. So in this time of equal day and equal night, I'm just pondering the many, many ways that I give and receive. And in a lot of ways, I'm not a good receiver. I usually just give and give and give and give. And it's been interesting. The last few days, my ex-husband has told my daughter to not ask me for certain things, that she needs to start coming to him with these needs of hers, which is so it's a different aspect of our relationship, because he has never acknowledged before, even indirectly, how much I give. And so he not only acknowledged it, but stepped up and said, well, start asking me to help you with some of these things, which made me pause, for sure. Like, wow, you're right. I mean, yes, they're my children, for sure. And I should give a lot to them. But it's nice that he's recognizing that he also needs to give to them as well. That I don't have to always be the one putting forth when it comes to them. Although it's balancing out in other ways. But it's always been hard for me to receive compliments, gifts. I don't know, that's been a really, really difficult thing. So that's something I'm definitely mulling over and contemplating. Because I do. And maybe you do too. Like, what areas in your life do you give a lot? And what areas of your life do you receive? Are you more of a giver or are you more of a receiver? And so the balancing out of, if you've just been giving, maybe it's time to step back and receive. If you've been receiving, and you're not contributing, maybe you need to step forward and contribute. And in different areas of my life, it balances differently. But in most of my relationships, it's not very balanced. So that's my wish right now, is to try to achieve more balance in my feminine side. Why shouldn't I be a receiver? Why shouldn't I allow myself all that life has to offer me? Instead of, once I get something, I'm giving it back, or I'm giving it here, or I'm putting it there. No, why can't I just... Oh. Receive her attention with full focus, for example, because she is the sweetest little kitty. So, sorry, I'm starting to ramble, so I will just end this now, sitting in this quiet little spot of the creek, and hoping you have a great rest of your day. Okay, talk to you later.